welcome to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle, coming out fall 2023. I am here with the baddest bitch in Australia. Unless I was in Australia, then she'd be second place.
It's true. It's true. I can only dream of competing to heights of your gloriousness. You are the true Parmesan queen. This is the reality.
Hey, listen, for some reason I keep making this show about me. I am here to introduce you. I apologize. I brought it back to me. I'm with the Australian queen. Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't bring up the queen. I'm sorry. I apologize. I am here. Okay, thank you. I'm here with Melanie Schubert, and she's amazing. She has the sweetest soul. She's sweeter than candy. I apologize. I should have thought about this a little harder today.
I loved it. It was perfect.
Thank you.
And
yeah, it was great. It was a great intro.
It was the best intro of my fucking life, and I will cherish it until my dying breath.
Yeah, it was a compliment, and then I brought it back to complimenting me, and then I tried again. But yeah, Melanie Schubert is a fantastic human being. How are you today, Melanie?
I'm good. I'm very good. I had coffee. I had my naughty little morning Saturday treat, which sounds naughtier than it should. I mean food. I mean food. You know, like Saturday morning, you have something like that you wouldn't. Well, that's a lie. I always eat non-breakfast food. So I don't even know where I'm going with this. We can delete this intro and start fresh.
You're just a mess. It started with me. I am sorry. I threw you all the way off.
No, I had those cheese and spinach pastries for breakfast. So I'm still feeling really, you have to understand, I'm gluten intolerant. So like when I have pastries that are gluten-free and actually good, it's like a religious moment. It's like,
yes,
I had a pastry and it was wonderful.
It's a special moment. I get it, because my partner's, he's got celiac disease, so he's gluten-free. So anytime there's like a special treat, I'm always like, oh, and he doesn't care though. He's not like a sweets kind of like pastry guy anyway. So I'll just eat it for him and be happy about it.
Yeah, I love that. But no, yeah. then you know, it's like when good stuff happens, it's really good. Yeah. But I feel like I want to turn the conversation back onto you for a moment. And
that's what I love. Bring it back to me.
The amazing thing that arrived to you this week. And is it in the room? Is it?
No, I should have brought it in here. I'm sorry.
Good. Next time I want to see it emblazoned behind you.
Yes, it will be right there next time. Yeah, I commissioned art by Riley Quinn Art on Instagram. And I mean, I slipped into her DMs. You know, I was like encouraged after, you know, our conversation with Cheryl. Like I wanted art, seeing art, I wanted it. And so I went onto her website, and so I emailed her and just kind of, you know, schmoozed a little bit. I said, hey, you know, if this is something you do, I'd love you to do it. And I know she's got like a big following. She's busy. She's working on her second book. So I was kind of like, you know, if she says no, it's okay. Hey, at least I tried. Yeah. And but then she was really excited, and so I was like, well, I don't know if I can afford to do what I was hoping to do, but can I do like the 4 main girls? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we started talking. I was like, well, can I add the rest? Can I add them all in there? And she was like, yes. And she came with ideas, and she gave me like samples, and I was shocked at the samples that she was giving me. Like, wait a minute, this is too good, actually. I was like, oh no, I was not ready. I was not ready to see my characters become like little Disney princess.
Yeah. There's such a Disney vibe to it in like the best freaking way. I mean, Disney is the best freaking way, but you know what I mean? Like just this just, they've come to life. And now they're in giant life on the art print you had printed for your wall, which I'm obsessed with. I think it needs to go on top of your shelf there where all your, I'm pointing like as if you can see where I'm pointing.
Yes, yes.
I'm on the top, it needs to go there where we can all see it in all its glory.
Pick out the dog or the goat statue and put it up there.
And
yes.
I love that you just went big. You just went big with it. And I feel like that's what needed to happen, because it is a glorious masterpiece. She killed it.
She did. Hey, you know, I kind of figured like this experience only really happens every once in a while or once. And why not just freaking celebrate it? And it really did make them feel alive. Like I was sobbing just when I saw the first sketch, just the black and white sketch. I was like, you know, like there they are. They're here. They're like living little things. And well, now they're big things because they got a giant portrait. But
is it bigger than you? If you put it standing, is it taller than you?
No, not that tall.
It looks big in the real.
Yeah, no, it's big. It's big. Maybe half my height. Okay. I'm not that tall, so maybe. Maybe I'll have to measure it out. Yeah, no, if I hold it, yeah, it's pretty good size. So also something really fun I got in the mail was,
sorry, you can't say if I hold it, it's a pretty good size and me not lose my shit.
Hey, you know, I don't know what to tell you, Melanie. I'm sorry. I don't.
Sorry, I derailed.
You're in a Saturday mood. You've had your little sweet Saturday morning, and now you're just in a sassy mood.
So sassy. Just you wait. Finish your thought before I derail.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak, Melanie. Thank you. I will. I was gonna say I also received in the mail, because I don't think we've had the podcast since then. I received in the mail something. I honestly don't have words to describe the feelings, the emotions that come from me when I see this thing. I opened the box. First, went to my mailbox and I thought, oh, Melanie sent me something. I opened the box. I unwrapped the packaging. And the human eyeballs are staring at these little human eyeballs on the most perfect goat with a crown. I was in shock. Melanie Schubert sent me this beautiful goat. And its eyes are human. I kid you not. I think there's something going on in that goat. There's a little magic.
That goat has seen shit. It has seen shit, and it is watching. It is always watching.
Yeah.
As I said that, I saw that spooky pumpkin or whatever on your shelf.
They're always watching. I put the goat in my office, like right on my desk, and so it literally is always watching me from my desk. And so sometimes I just stop and I look at it and I'm like,
well, you know, when we were talking about our plans for revision race and how we would send the winner like a random thing, and that same episode we'd been talking about you being the queen of goats, and I was like, I want to send you a goat with a crown on it. And then later that night I was unwinding with some wines. I was waiting for Phil to come home from work, and I was like, wonder if such a thing exists on Etsy. Like Etsy has, I swear, Etsy has never let me down. If I'm like, I want to find tiny little boba tea replicas and turn them into earrings, after hours on Etsy, I will find it, you know, like whatever it is. And I was like, I feel like it could happen. But little did I know that this goat would steal my heart upon sighting it. And I was like, I don't care if you win or not, which you're not going to win. You're not. I'll tell you why in a second.
Oh,
Not gonna win, but I was like, I have to get this fucking goat for you because it has stared into my soul and it has told me it belongs in your life.
I believe that. I believe it spoke to you because that motherfucker is alive. That fucking
Right?
goat is alive, Melanie. I believe it sent little magic waves to you. You have to show me the picture of like the Etsy picture that
I
you
will.
saw and you said, you know what? Angela needs that.
It looks exactly like yours, but I'll send it to you. And honestly, when I was looking, I was like, oh yeah, I'll like tag it and then I'll send it to you after revision race. And then it was like, there's only one of these remaining and 50 people have it in their basket. I was like, fuck, I need to buy it now. I'm like, if this one last goat goes, this handmade special goat that spoke to me and it's gone, I won't cope.
Who are these 50 people? There is
no goat fans. You know, so cute. One of our guests commented just today. I forgot to tell you. It comes up in my email when people comment on YouTube, and she was like, "Oh, she's like all here for all the goats too." I was so happy when I read it. I was just like, people understand our weird, twisted sense of humor. They understand the goat. That reel of you with the goat did better than any of our reels in recent memory.
So it was all the goat. It was his special magic that brought the people in.
Did you give it a name?
No, I just kind of feel like
the goat.
I just see him and I think, wow, that's a goat. That is a goat.
That is profound, my friend. That is profound. But
yeah,
what I was going to say is hold on to your goat because I have 5 pages left to revise.
Oh my gosh.
Dang. I was gonna push through last night. It was so close. And you know, you reach a point where you're just like, boom, boom, like your brain hits the wall. And I was like, you know, there's revision race has already done what it needed, in my opinion. Like we are here at the very tail end of our books with revisions, and we like our books more than we did. They're shinier than they were. So in my point of view, it's already done what we wanted it to. So I was like, I'm not gonna like push my brain beyond that wall on a Friday night to get it done. But 5 pages, like, catch me if you can.
There's no way. That's amazing. Okay. I will give you Melanie Schubert. You have done it. You have won our first annual revisions race. Oh, here comes the queen.
I don't know what I'm doing. What is this?
You're doing, isn't this kind of what I don't know what
no,
you're doing,
I was
to be
like
honest.
levitating with my giant crown or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the crown's so big. I bow to you. I bow. Even though
your book is longer, I know.
I was going to say that. Yes, let's just go with that. My book is longer, but no, I was going to say, isn't it the first over there?
Yeah. So are you saying I'm technically lost?
No, I don't. You freaking won. I want to give you shit, but no, you did it. You got all through your project. Yeah. And the last 5 pages, honestly, like you should take time on that, you know?
That's the main reason I stopped. I was like, if I push through now and just skim reading it, and I know that these are the pages that need the most work, potentially I've got this idea for kind of like an epilogue at the end just to tie everything up as well. So I was like, there's just no point in rushing that bit. That will defeat all the good, that will undo all the good. Because at every point I felt like, and that's what sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm not finishing not a single sentence at this point.
Okay.
But okay. What I was going to say is that one of the fascinating things doing these races together has made me realize is this is actually how I need to write.
Yeah.
Because I think like, I feel like the way my brain works, I just cannot hold on to everything all at once, especially if I walk away from it. And what I find is when I walk away from a project, I lose my mojo for it. But I think the reason is because I step out of the world.
Yeah.
Then I have to go back to the start again. And every time I do that, I love it again. But if I just speed draft it, no, it's not perfect. If I speed revise it, no, it's not perfect, but it's there and it's cohesive. Like, honestly, I got to stuff and I was expecting I'm going to have to tear it apart, but I'm not. I'm not having to tear it apart. And that has been such a shocking and wonderful discovery that for me, this may be like a lasting part. Not maybe, I think it is. I need to write like this, just bust out this like ground zero draft and not freak out about it and then go from there. Because yeah, I don't know, how have you found it?
The exact same. Honestly, this is the way that just it has to be done. Like you said,
Yeah.
when you're stuck in that world, it's so much easier to keep going because you already know, all the stuff that you just wrote because you're fresh. It's all right there. And the same, I thought I was going to have to tear this book to shreds,
Same.
but it hasn't been that way. And I keep thinking, like, am I just doing this too fast? Am I just trying to get this through? But I'm like, no, it fits. It's all going together. So it's worked. And just like when we were talking with George, our very amazing guest, who is a proud pantser, it kind of gave me like a little heart, like, yay, because I feel like I put this stigma of I shouldn't be a pantser, even though that's how I've always written. But because you hear so much, you don't want to do this, this, and that, because if you're just pantsing through things, you're gonna miss a lot of the beats.
Yeah.
But now that we know the beats, now that we understand the story, and he gives great advice on how to keep that all like in sync. But like I feel like that is what I am. I know where I want to go with the book as long as I get like the basic core of what I want. Pantsing it kind of fast.
Yes.
Really, really worked. And just having you to just bullshit the whole time, it made it so fun on top of doing it. So it was really great.
I've got chills from what you're saying because it's just exactly how I've been feeling. And like, I was also worrying, like, am I like trying to force this just to have something new to query? Like, am I like not doing it justice? And then coming back and reading it and being like, I thought our very end revision race stuff was going to be utter bile that I would need to like reconstruct. But like, honestly, there's been chapters that I was able to just like light edit, just typos and shit. And that was more rare. Like, I'm usually adding in chunks and deleting like little chunks here and there, but I'm honestly shocked. So what I'm hearing is that like we're kind of stuck with each other.
Good.
Shit talk each other through drafts. And I've got a few things I want to draft after this. So honestly, I'm game if you are.
Oh, shoot.
Fun. And it like it feels healthy. And I think that was the important checkpoint for me last night. If I pushed through that last chapter, unhealthy. I reached that kind of, I think I'm getting better at learning like when is healthy push and when is unhealthy push. And it's honestly, it's so fucking important in our career because I think so many of us, like, you definitely have introverted tendencies if you like to be on your laptop all the time writing these stories. So the other side of things can be so, I digress now. I was thinking about this as well. I've taken another tangent, Angela.
Okay, bring me on. I'm ready.
I got about this. Your tweet you did the other day was so relatable, and I feel so seen by those conversations where we're just like, yeah, like there is a limit to what, introverted personalities, even if you manifest. I would say people are often surprised that you and I say we're introverts. I get it a lot. Like, people don't believe it almost because I'm good with people, because I can be loud, because I can be full of energy. But like, that is one part. And I feel like the more we talk about how that's one part of us and how there's limitations to that, we'll see less burnout amongst writers, because I think it's quite common that people will get so easily burnt out in this career once it comes to marketing, once it comes to working with an agent, whatever it is, or like just doing something like pitch wars. It's so easy to get swallowed by the business side of things, when really what we were before that was creative introverts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And there's a part of this whole business where it's like you feel like you need to be out there at all times, and so learning when your body and your well is done. And being able to say no, I think, is such a huge thing. And so, when that happens, it's like, oh, okay, perfect. If somebody can't do something or whatever, it's like, perfect. Your limits. And so, like, I'm trying to learn that as well, as, because, you always hear, just take every opportunity, but sometimes you really just can't, because you're just not there. And then if you take it, you're not going to be who you want to present yourself as, because you're drained, and you're just pooping out.
Yeah.
But I love that we did this, because it really was like, instead of always being here, we could at least come out of our world and bullshit.
Yes.
Going.
I'm glad it's been that for you as well, that I feel like we've had a similar journey, realizing that this is like a really fun and efficient way to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
this. It was good. We did it.
And speaking of good and wonderful things, George Jreije, we had the absolute honor of interviewing him on the podcast just now, and it really was one of those writer church episodes that I think we both tend to love, when we have fun but also get deep and talk about the kind of inner workings of us as writers and the journey and all that.
Yes. No, George took us right to church, and I'm so thankful for it, to be honest. I felt like just listening to him and his advice and his story, it just really was kind of like a magical moment, where you're reminded that there's more to this than just publishing books. There is working on craft, there is community, there is the beauty of story, and the publishing will come. But the heart of story writing and community is the most important. And so all the things he had to say, I was just like, oh, thank you for that reminder.
We should probably read his bio.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So George is the Lebanese-American author of SHAD, HADID and the Alchemists of Alexandria, a forthcoming children's fantasy novel with HarperCollins. He has also written short stories published in collaboration with UNICEF. When not writing, George enjoys trying tasty Arabic pastries, messing with new yoga poses, and mentoring other writers.
Let's bring George on.
See, theme music. Dun, dun,
yeah,
dun,
we need a dun, 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 dun.
Theme music for me?
Yeah. Hello, George.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Get it out. Get it out. What do we have? Let's see it. Dun, dun, dun.
You need to say something so the camera goes to you, otherwise it'll be on us.
SHAD, HADID and the Alchemists of Alexandria, October 4th.
Woo!
Get it. You won't regret it. It looks so nice on your, even the arcs look nice on the show, but it doesn't matter what your arrangement is. You probably have a better arrangement than I do. Look at this spine. You need that.
I love it. Can I comment on your book? Nobody has a better bookshelf than you right now, because you have a dragon holding your books together.
Yes, we were very excited about that purchase. I think that we had very few bookish details in a place, and obviously as an author, it's kind of an obligation to do something. Everyone has these really nice, elaborate bookshelves, whereas we had like a stack of books on the floor somewhere in the corner. And so we're like, we just need a really good bookend and we're set.
That's it. That's it. That's the goal right there. Well,
All
it's beautiful. It's perfect. Actually, it's funny because when Melanie and I first started this, that was our kind of conversation was like, oh, well, we need to have these nice backgrounds, but
yeah.
it's really hard to do. Those big bookshelves are really hard to get right. It's hard.
Right. I procrastinate too much. I know that it would be a mess if I would try to arrange a bookshelf. So I'm like, listen, we'll have this little like section on one shelf with books, and that's it.
It's all you need. And they're your books, which is, I mean, you can't beat
Just
that.
my stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I
Yeah.
definitely have friends' other books lying around all over the place. It's a mess, but for the podcasts, for the other stuff, we have the dragon bookends.
Perfect.
Yes. Well, welcome to the show. We've been excited to have you on. I know basically anybody that is represented by Jennifer Azantian, we already know is going to be absolutely amazing. And I love just seeing you on TikTok and Instagram and everything. So we were excited that you said yes. And so welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's a huge honor. This is one of my favorite writing podcasts. It's up there as like the top, the Mount Olympus of writing podcasts.
Okay, now you know what? You've gone too far, but I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna take it.
I'm just going to put it out there that that's probably because of the Australian influence on the team and just like
Right.
adds that extra edge of awesome. I don't know. Is it just me?
Don't you love how Angela just thought it was because of her, but really it's Melanie. I mean, no.
True. It's true. I mean, hey, it's okay. I will bow down to the Australian Thunder any day. Let's get into you, George. Enough about us. We appreciate it. But let's get into you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So I'm George Jreije. I'm a Lebanese-American individual as well as author. And I grew up in Lebanon for a few years. I grew up in America for a few years. I write books about both. And my debut novel, SHAD, HADID, and the Alchemists of Alexandria, is coming out October 4th with HarperCollins. It's the first in the series. There are other books yet unannounced that my editor would shush me if I try to talk about, so I will not do so. However, for now, this series will definitely be more than enough to tide you over. It's a lot of fun. It's about a 12-year-old Arab American immigrant who discovers he comes from a long line of alchemists. He just wants to bake. He just likes food, like me. But he's got to, put down the baking ingredients and pick up some alchemy ingredients and connect to his family tradition and also save the world from necromancers that are trying to take over. So there's that as well. It's all of my stuff has a lot of Arab influence. I'm a big fan of Arab cuisine, and I'm also a little bit of a yogi. So you'll catch me doing my downward dogs every morning. That's me in a nutshell.
I've had that. Yoga is life. Seriously. Angela knows she's heard this rant more times than she probably would like. But I'm just like, I don't know how people live without yoga. Like it's the thing, right? To keep you from feeling like 100-year-old person at 30.
Yeah, I mean, the asanas, right? The physical part of yoga in and of itself, there's just so much there that you will never stop learning.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the best thing for writers, I think, because no matter who you are, where you get to in your career, you're always going to be humbled by a simple yoga class.
That feels right. That feels right.
I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Yeah.
Is it like a daily practice for you?
It's a daily practice for me.
Yeah.
I tend to go like 120 from 0 to 120 on like everything. And I just remember stepping into my first yoga class, and I come from like a bodybuilding background. I was like, I went to this school that was a sports centered school, and they were really into lifting. And so I'd never considered yoga. Come on. So I go into this class, and this like petite older woman just looks at me and goes, "You're not going to survive this." And I'm like, I'll show you, lady. I did not survive it. I was like a twisted knot in pain, crying by the end, begging for mercy. But I was like, I need to make this my thing. And in the course of not only embracing the asanas, right, but also the literature and the philosophy behind it, I found a lot of fantastic life lessons and things that are really applicable to writers, especially like number one is tempering that ego, which I think is helpful at first, right? You need a little bit of ego to tell you, hey, I can write this book. But then as you start to get further along that journey, you do need to temper it a little bit, rein it in so that you can maintain that humility, that groundedness that keeps you connected to readers.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right there. You just brought us to Writer Church. That's our favorite thing that ever happens on the show. That's it. Literally, in a nutshell. You have to have a little bit of like, I am a bad bitch, right? All of us, and collectively, we are all bad bitches. But also to have that humility and to take critiques, which is huge. And I mean, it's the dang edit letter right there will humble you 1,000 times over. So having the balance is key. Absolutely.
It's everything. However you find it, whether it's yoga, whether it's religion of some sort, however you find it, you gotta just kill that ego once you get to a certain degree and just embrace all feedback, everything, and just grow. Because otherwise you kind of get stilted and you kind of get stuck. And I see a lot of aspiring authors get to that point and they can't just level up because they're still that level. Like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need help. We've seen it.
Yeah.
It's such a balance, isn't it? Because you also need the courage to like 100% believe in yourself. But yeah, if it's not tempered with that self-awareness and that humility, it wind up being such extremes that kind of, in my opinion, just kill the craft, And I feel like we've all read books from either side of the high spectrum, and you're like, oh, it's lost something that the author had in XYZ book or whatever. And yeah, definitely, like, we just went deep straight away, which I'm so here for. And I 100% agree that those yoga philosophies and mindfulness philosophies, they tie so deeply into writing and stuff. And that's why we love that book, Big Magic. It does have a lot of those kinds of core philosophies of love of craft. So back to you. Did you always want to be a writer?
Yeah, listeners, no small talk here. It's all philosophy.
Bring it.
Bring a notepad, take notes. No, I'm just kidding. Did I always want to be a writer? Honestly, no. I didn't grow up even that big of a reader, to be quite honest. I will say, and this is kind of a tidbit for once I'm being interviewed for this unannounced deal, right? I grew up a fan of graphic novels, if anything, and I didn't even read those very often. It was like a treat. Like my parents, right, and hardworking immigrants, would take me once in a while to the comic book store to get a comic book, and that was about it. And then I got really into sports, and I did not have time for reading. It didn't enter like my universe, and I actually got back into reading late in high school. It really exploded in college when I had a bunch of free time. So I would just stay up all night in my dorm room binging like Game of Thrones and like these epic fantasy books. Fantasy is my reintroduction, and science fiction. And so I would say that for most of my life, I have not been even a reader, let alone a writer. I didn't start writing until pretty much when I was done with college. And that was, God, probably 5 or 6 years ago.
That's great though. I always love hearing these kind of stories because we all have our own journeys and our own ways of finding kind of what our calling is. And clearly writing is, because you have this gorgeous book behind you. You mentioned what it's about, but what inspired you to write this book and middle grade in particular?
Yeah, so I'm a huge pantser, right? I don't plot anything, or I try not to. I deliberately try not to plot because I find that when I was studying writers I admired, their books whom I liked, one thing I found that was kind of a connection across all of them was the chaotic nature of their books, and they were all pantsers. And so I said, I like this kind of idea of creating something out of nothing. So that's the kind of writer I want to be.
Mm.
And I only like reading these kinds of books. So when I started drafting this novel, which was not the first novel I wrote, right? We all have those novels we don't talk about.
Yeah.
This was not that first novel. It was 5 or 6, one of those, right? I said, I want to do something totally original, totally different, but also grounded in like what I know, because what you know is not necessarily like things that you're an expert in, right? It's
Yeah.
just lived experience. Because if you write from a place of lived experience, then it rings true universally to everybody.
Mm.
So I'm like, what do I know? So it's the Arab American experience, the diaspora experience, the immigrant experience. And so I came up with this character who reflects exactly the person I was at 12, a troublemaker, right? Obsessed with food, won't take no for an answer, but also kind of their heart is in the right place, even if they cause a little bit of chaos and mischief. So the character of Shad Hadid came up, right? And then, all right, what's this world? What's this magic system? Well, there are so many kind of iterations of magic, but I'm Arab. Is there something more grounded to my culture?
Mm.
And alchemy sprang out of the region that I'm from. And I'm like, what cooler way to do this than make it a world with alchemy? The world of alchemy is literally what I call it in the book. And so alchemy is basically a simple magic system where you can either craft a dust, a charm, a mist, or an elixir. And you use common ingredients as well as some uncommon ingredients to create these mixtures, of which there are endless amounts, and it makes for a lot of fun if you're doing a workshop or something with kids. But it is essentially the result of combining my Arab culture with what I want to be an original magic system. And so thus the idea of, Shadidi and the Alchemists of Alexandria came to life.
That is beautiful. I love when we can infuse our own cultures, our own backgrounds, just who we are as people and our experience. I mean, it makes for a book that feels real and honest. And I'm really excited to get my pre-ordered copy, because I, I am. I know it's kind of funny. I mean, I'm going to just talk about me for a second, of course.
Please do.
But my great grandfather is Lebanese, or was Lebanese, and he immigrated to Mexico. And there's a thriving Lebanese Mexican community that I didn't even realize until I was speaking to a family friend. And he looked at me, he was like, "What are you?" And I'm like, "I'm Mexican." And he's like, "No, no, no, like, what are you?" And I said, "Well, my great grandfather came from Lebanon." He's like, "I knew it." And
Uh,
and he was talking about this beautiful culture within Mexico and how it blended into some of my favorite Mexican food is actually Lebanese food.
yeah, a
And
lot
so
of
I'm excited to like just read your words and, kind of get a little sneak peek into the Arab heritage and culture. And I just love it. I'm excited.
which is exactly what you'll get. And it's funny actually, because when I would visit Lebanon, one of my best friends there, who would also be visiting Lebanon during the summers, was a Mexican Lebanese kid. And so like we're everywhere. These Arabs are everywhere, especially Lebanese. So you're not my favorite. You're not my favorite of the two. Sorry, Melanie. I mean, unless you're
That's okay. Mad respect.
I had to do it somehow. I had to sneak in there, make this about me. But and what a lot of our Lebanese like family members live in Australia now,
Yeah,
so
huge.
it's all over. So
Yeah,
I'm excited. I can't wait to read your book. Honestly, as soon as I like saw it, I was like pre-ordered. Thank you. It just
appreciate you.
I'm excited. So we talked about what inspired you and all of those fun things. Now we know you're a pantser. Do you have any tips for pantsers out there, because I'm trying to be less of a pantser, but I just keep finding myself going back
Yeah.
and just having to just write as I, and explore. So do you have tips for pantsers out there?
Yeah, I mean, I lead a lot of workshops and I on craft, and I think that craft applies to both plotters and pantsers.
Mm.
I think it's especially important for pantsers actually, because to pants, you have to pants right. You can't just it can't all be chaos. There has to be a little bit of method to the madness, so to speak.
Mm.
So my number one rule is focus on character, because right now, what's really hot, what really resonates with readers and agents and editors, right, are character driven stories. So focus on characters. And before you even start writing the novel, obviously, this is kind of bridging the gap between pantsing and plotting, but I still think it's just kind of its own thing. Think about what your character's internal motivation is,
Mm.
as well as their external motivation, right? Plot, you can't put that on the fly. You can pants that all day long. But internal motivation, think of that beforehand. Don't come up with that on the fly. Go in with a kind of misconception the character has or something that they have to learn throughout the story, right? You
Mm.
know, I don't like sharing, and it sounds so childish, but it's so important. And so in it, whether an adult novel or a middle grade novel, something like that, that kind of lesson, that kind of moral of the story, that can drive the internal motivation, that's actually what's going to keep your reader going, not just the plot. So if you can maintain that throughout the story and show development, you're going to compel readers. You're going to compel anyone. And I think that whether you're a pantser or an outliner, that will continue to ring true. That's my number one tip right there.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I love that you just own your pantserness because it's such a we see such a wide variety of writing styles. And I think that that is the important truth. There is no one right way. You have to kind of like find your way to do it, but like find an effective way to do it. Because I started off as a true pantser as well, and I would just go. And it did. It wound up being this like big, wild, messy thing, which I'm sure if an outside person out of my head read, it was just a mess, you know? So having those kind of key things to guide you through has worked for you and obviously worked very well. So yeah, tell us what your journey was like after you wrote this book, you had this book, what happened next for you?
Sure. So again, you're talking about when I first started writing, right? I went to the only trusted source in the world, which is YouTube.
Yes.
And it's like the Library of Alexandria of our time, right?
Later,
So I went to YouTube and I was like, all right, what are the pros doing? And so listened to a lot of folks. One individual, Brendan Sanderson, who was known in the fantasy world, um, he taught a lecture at a university. And one thing that he said about himself was, when I started writing, I told myself I'm going to give myself 5 years to get good at it. I'm going to not try and sell anything I wrote in those 5 years. I'm just going to write, and grow. And so I was like, cool, I'll do that. Listen, I'm young. I got nothing but time. I'm just going to take this. I'm in no rush, you know? I wasn't doing it for the need to get published. I was doing it because I enjoyed writing stories. So I gave myself those 5 years, and then I got lucky that it only took 4. And so in the 4th year, I was able to, towards the end of it, I was able to write a story. It was my 6th story. And you just kind of know
Mm.
when it's like hitting, you're like, oh man, I'm feeling this. Other people are going to love this.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how I felt the whole time writing Shad Hadid. So I wrote this story, and I was very fortunate to get into Pitch Wars. I was in the class of 2019. Pitch Wars, for those who don't know, is a mentoring competition, right? And it no longer exists, unfortunately. I was a mentee in the class of 2019. I was also a mentor in the class of 2020 and 2021.
You were in 2020? A mentor?
Yeah.
Why didn't I know this? Why do I feel like I should know this? I apologize. I should have checked my notes because Mel and I were 2020 mentees. And so
Oh,
I feel like I should have stalked you. Clearly, I should have stalked you during that time. But were you a middle grade?
We probably did,
Yeah,
but
we
it's such
probably
a
did.
wild time. You can't remember everyone you stalked.
yeah. I was not a big fish back then. I did not have my book deal yet. So
Uh,
I will say, and I was also middle grade. So
oh
I
yeah,
had
okay,
you in both our
that's
YA.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I was a middle grade mentor. And, I had two fantastic mentors, Adriana Cuevas and Sarah Capet, who are both accomplished middle grade authors. And they really helped me, learn a little bit more, level up a little bit more, such that, going into the showcase, because you do this mentoring competition, you get mentored for a couple months and they just revise your novel and you work on it, right? And at the end, you can pitch it to agents. That's the cool thing about what that was, that pitch wars, right? Which no longer exists, unfortunately. And I got a couple agent offers out of that. Now, Jennifer Azantian was not one of those agents.
Ah,
Jennifer Azantian was interested in my novel from DV Pit. DV Pit is a pitching competition that is on Twitter where you write a short pitch within the 280 character count limit, and agents can let you know if they're interested just based on that. It's actually really funny that I'm bringing this up because yesterday I led a workshop that had over 150 registrants on the subject of pitching. And I'm like, trust me, guys, this works. Trust me.
I have done it. I've done the work. Yeah.
Exactly. It works. And so Jennifer from a previous DV Pit, before my getting into, pitch wars, had stated interest. And so I had not submitted to Jennifer because I'm not gonna submit a novel that I know is gonna be better after pitch wars. So I waited till after. Jennifer was understanding. And then once the agent offers were trickling in, I was like, all right, Jennifer, here's your chance. Because when you get your first agent offer, you get 2 weeks. You ask for 2 weeks. That's industry standard. And then within those 2 weeks, it's off to the races. All right, how many other offers can I get? I had fantastic agents, agents that represent books that are, award-winning, bestsellers, whatever, names you'd recognize that were, open to the idea of representing me. And I was very humbled. But Jennifer came in and she had a vision and she just knew the story inside and out. And if you ask her other clients, it's kind of her thing to just come in hot and like tell you what's going to be changed. And you being like, whoa, oh, yes, yes. Oh, I can see this happening. It's going to be so good. And so Jennifer just got it. Also, Jennifer's Armenian, and there are a lot of Armenians living in Lebanon. Actually, my aunt is Armenian, and they are, this is controversial, but some of the best bakers in Lebanon are actually Armenians. And so Jen got all the food references. And that was the most important thing to me, right? She just got it. So I ended up choosing Jen. And after that, we revised for just a couple rounds, went on submission. I waited my few months, as most submission folks do. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks. It happens in several months. Got some rejections, got some interest, did a couple R&Rs. So be prepared to humble yourself even at that stage and continue to revise for editors. And out of that, I had a couple editors at different publishing houses who were interested, and so Hachette and HarperCollins went at it at auction. Two wonderful editors who I would have loved to work with, and HarperCollins won. HarperCollins always wins auctions.
They go for what they want.
They go for what they want, and they got the money. They got the money. I mean, all these publishing houses have the money. So I got very fortunate. HarperCollins won that auction, and I have had a fantastic editor in Megan Ilnitsky ever since. Megan has worked on the School for Good and Evil series. Megan has worked on Jason June's books, if you're familiar with Jason, who is now a New York Times bestseller, and who is just a big ball of joy. I've loved working with Megan, and so this series I'm doing with Megan, and that's all I'm going to say, actually. But Megan Megan has been fantastic. We did a couple rounds of revisions. I will say Megan is extremely editorial in a
Mm.
way that will make you be like, why did you buy this book? It's so bad. But it's just so much fun working together. And yeah, it doesn't even feel like it, but that was almost 2 years ago.
Mm.
So time flew by between, the deal happening and now being pretty much at release. And it's the rest is history, We'll see what happens next.
I'm so excited. It just makes me happy um, just to hear all the steps and kind of going back to where we first started with when talking to you about being able to humble yourself and you just have to, otherwise you're not going to make the cut, because when those revisions do come, if the ego comes a little higher, it's not going to happen, especially when you do have someone that is so editorial, and or having Jen who's so excited, like, what about this, what if we did this, and if you just shut them off right away, you're going to miss the magic. And
Uh,
so it just goes back to that of finding the balance, but being willing and open, because they're just as excited about your project as you are. I mean, clearly they wanted to pay.
they
Yeah.
have to be. If they're not as excited, they're not going to be able to finesse that deal. It's just simple as that. Because they're the ones who are doing the selling. They're the ones doing the pitching. You
Yeah.
know.
They kind of take over, and now it's their turn to sell it to the marketing team and all of that fun stuff. So they've got to be passionate. What was the most
No.
rewarding part of this whole experience for you?
So after getting my agent, between then and now, I have had 5 or 6 mentees that I've mentored, and almost all of them have gone agents, and they're well on their way to getting book deals. Easily the most rewarding part is being able to turn around and help the next author on their journey. Being able to turn around and help the next individual kind of create more stories for readers, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to tell stories that readers will enjoy. And so understanding that it's not the George show. This is just me. I'm writing stories. You're writing stories, and we want other people to write stories, because when there are more stories, we all kind of win. So being able to mentor others to help them along their own journeys is easily the most rewarding part of this whole thing.
George is magic.
Yeah. You nearly made me cry. That's so, you know what? And that's what I love about this community, because that's really what it is. And it's like, it's even little moments, like even just with DMs with people or whatever, that like meets like, and that recognition from, because that would mean the world to your mentees, and it does. And having been there, and you're just like, when those writing people ahead of you reach out, and you're just like, wow, and just all sharing that together, it's just the goods. It's just the big magic in this community. I love it.
It's true. It's true.
Man. Okay, well, let's go to the dark side. What's been the hardest part for you?
The hardest part. So I would have to say the hardest part is, this is very particular to me, but it's patience. Because friends of mine in the community, my agent, my editor, will tell you that I can work fast. And I think it's the chip on my shoulder I have from, I either inherited it from my parents who were immigrants, or growing up working from when I was 12 years old to make money to help the family. I've, it's that work ethic, and I just go. And so publishing works really slow. I work really fast. And so being able to temper those expectations and understand that, yeah, I might have 3 other projects that I'm ready to pitch and that like are finished, like full on books, not just proposals. But you got to give everyone time and grace, and that, like, being able to slow down, to just pause. And I'm still learning to do that. It's a journey. That is easily the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That's relatable. Absolutely, because publishing is so slow. It's hard. Yeah, that's absolutely relatable. 100%.
And I always argue that patience isn't an emotion. Patience is an action. I I don't know anyone who's like actually has the feeling of like enjoying patience. It's like something you force yourself to do and you get better at being less impatient about doing it. Something like,
Exactly.
well, I see our time is like evaporated. I want to
I
ask,
know that more.
what would you say to like a younger version of yourself just starting out? What advice would you want your young self to know going into this?
Experiment more. You know, I thought I was gonna write the next Lord of the Rings. Bad example. There are better books, but I thought I was gonna write like that, like new big fantasy, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I did. It's here, right? Uh, we did it. No, but I was like, I'm gonna be an adult fantasy author or adult sci-fi author. And I was not open at the time to writing middle grade at all. It took years to even start my first middle grade. So I'm just like experiment from the jump. Be open to anything. Don't have any preconceptions of who you are. It's kind of like that thing, that old adage where the Buddhist student goes to the elder and says, "I can't learn anything. Like I just don't understand what you're trying to teach me." And the guy gives him a cup and starts filling it, and the cup overflows. And the guy's like, "I don't understand what's going on." And the elder says, "You got to empty the cup. You got to come at me with an empty cup, right?" Like for the mind, right? We're all beginners, and so being open to everything and trying new things, that's key. And so I wish I'd known that 5 years ago.
It's such a powerful metaphor and one that I love as well, because yeah, like it's literally that process of, and it's like I always think back to when I started. In a way I'm more confident, but in a way I'm less, not less confident, less self-assured,
Mm,
less delusional or something. And I think it's that process of emptying the cup of what you thought it was going to be, and just like Liz Gilbert says it in Big Magic, she's like, just play, and that's how you find yourself. Because if you shove yourself into this preconceived notion, I'd probably be writing dark war poetry. If I went into what I thought writing was, that's
yeah.
probably where I would have been sitting somewhere thinking that this is like the pinnacle of great writing. And yeah, I love that so much.
It's the art of the pivot, as
Yeah.
I've come to know. The art of the pivot is huge.
Yeah.
Well, I know you probably can't tell us, but what is next for you? What's happening behind the scenes? We've got the book coming out next week. So what's going on in your life? What's happening?
Yeah. So the book's coming out next week. Everyone's gonna buy it because you're gonna just really enjoy it. So it's like help me help you,
Yeah.
right? They're gonna enjoy. There's book 2 on the horizon, and I've seen the cover, and it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be wild. Really cool. And book 2 kind of I always try and kind of subvert what folks might expect
Mm.
of a book or a sequel or whatever. It's not conventional. It's awesome. It's chaotic. There's possibly another deal on the horizon, yet unannounced, so be on the lookout for that. It is a pivot. It is not what you would expect me to write next. So be very excited about that. I cannot wait to announce it. It's deeply personal, and so you'll all see why. Um, so it's one of those things. I think it's a very important story, and I think that it has a really deep message that is going to be very important for my readers.
Mm.
So I just can't wait to announce it. I think that, SHAD Hadid in The Alchemist of Alexandria has that as well, but it's just different. It's just different. So
Yeah.
for now, because that's far into the future, get ready to dive into the world of alchemy, and I cannot wait to share that with my readers.
Yes, we are so freaking excited. I cannot wait. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes. So at by George Jreije, my full name, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, feel free. I'm there too. I'm everywhere. Do give me a follow. Do say hello. I'm pretty friendly. And you'll find me there. I'm also doing a bunch of events all over the place. So I'll be posting about that on my socials. Be on the lookout there because over the next few months, I'll be doing events all the time. but obviously nothing compares to this podcast, iconic.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree, and we just thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your big magic and yoga wisdom and all the good things. And I relate to it. I know our listeners are going to relate to it. And yeah, we're just wishing you every good thing as this book comes out. Everyone needs to go out and still pre-order it right now.
Time to pre-order still.
Time is ticking, but
whatever time you listen to this podcast, the book will be there waiting for you. So get it, add it to your bookshelves, add it to your life, and read it and enjoy it.
And can we talk about that cover? It is literal fire.
Khadija Khadib did the cover for a couple of Riordan's new books, and Noor and the Immortal Palace, and so many other fantastic books. All credit goes to Khadija. It's just amazing.
I love it. Well, it's going to cut us out any second. So thank you so much for making the time to come on today, sharing your journey, sharing your craft, and we're cheering for you.
Thank you both. This has been awesome.
Thanks, George. We're so excited for you.
Thank you.